Welcome to the first Harrell Wrestling Talk podcast. And this week we discuss Ric Flair, Sting, The Shield, the upcoming main event at Money in the Bank. But today we're going to start off things with Daniel Bryan getting stripped of his championship belts. On Monday night it was announced that he is still not cleared to compete, and the Authority followed up with their threats and took the belts from him. Jacob, do you believe that this is the right move and that it's best for business?
I have three words for you. Yes, yes, yes. Honestly, I think this is great because I didn't want to see another Kane versus Daniel Bryan match. And to me, this adds an element because we have so many undercard people that need a push that this could potentially bring someone like a Cesaro up. And odds are they're not going to give him the belt, but this gives him a chance to shine kind of with the big dogs, if you know what I mean. What do you think?
You know, I got to thinking today that I'm wondering if it's not just a whole storyline altogether, you know, because they have the doctor on to announce this, and all of a sudden now Bree is kind of taking a step away from the business.
She's removed from the roster.
They haven't had a break, and, you know, this could be their honeymoon that has been planned this whole entire time, and it's just been covered up over an injury.
And Kane's tombstones caused this injury to happen, so I buy what you're selling there with that. And to me, it helps, too, with the whole fact that all the main stars are in factions and stuff, that with him, he had no one to feud with, unless he's going to join the Shield now. I mean, that, which we'll talk about that later, that's a situation that could happen. But now this allows him to come back after this injury, and then he can come wrestle whoever, have a rematch with Kane, or whoever wins the title.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, if it is true that he is seriously injured, I think he's going to have to change his wrestling style to not continue to go as he's been going and, you know, putting his career on the risk like this.
Monday Night Raw headlines. So we had a typical Raw. We had squash matches throughout pretty much. We had our long matches at the beginning, at the end. Some of the headlines, we go into it. We had the champion versus champion match. We had the Intercontinental Champion Wade Barrett and the TV Champion Sheamus fight to qualify for the ladder match for the championship. We had Sheamus coming on top. We had Cesaro qualifying for the ladder match also. We had Damien Sandow wearing a skin-tight naked suit, which you could tell he did not have the total package. And we also saw corporate finally, Seth Rollins rocking his suit, called out the Shield. And my personal favorite thing, we had Rusev come out. We had Lana show a video of President Obama working out. And we also saw Vladimir Putin shirtless. So, Jonathan, what do you think of this episode of Raw?
You know, it wasn't a bad Raw. It wasn't as exciting as the week before in Indy, you know, where you had just all kinds of emotions going on. But I really enjoyed the Seth Rollins showing that he can make it as a heel. He did a great job, and I feel so bad for Damien Sandow. I just don't know how much lower you can go, and it's amazing from him going from winning Money in the Bank to dancing in his skin tight.
Do you think that's for the gimmick, though? Are they going to do the whole faction of employees that are hate what they're doing, basically?
I hope so, because I don't know where you go from here.
You're punishing him pretty good if that's the stuff you're thinking. Well, at least he's getting TV time. I mean,
yeah,
but
I mean, that's the only thing you could think about it.
Yeah, the thing for me with it was I loved just basically with the Shield, when them coming out, I loved when Dean Ambrose did the greatest face heel promo, basically, where the good guy gave this heel promo about his nose going to his ear and how he's going to beat the crap out of him, and then Seth Rollins just goes, okay, bring it on, basically, at the end of that. But for me, I wanted more out of it with Cesaro. It just doesn't seem like they're building him up to win the championship. And he's a Heyman guy, So I don't know if that's bringing him down per se, but he hasn't really brought that main event style yet. He's still kind of a mid-card guy to me.
Right, and I do think Heyman takes a lot of, eyes away from him and a lot of spotlight where he could be, growing as the next superstar.
Right, well, every time he talks about Brock Lesnar.
Well, speaking of some of those guys, we have some more spots filled for the upcoming Money in the Bank main event. Former winners Randy Orton and Alberto Del Rio will join Cesaro and Sheamus for a chance to take home the titles that night. So, Jacob, who do you got? Are you going to go with one of them or somebody else?
For me, I have three people in mind because there's three spots left. I think you put Cena Wyatt in there because to me, I don't want them feuding again, just a singles match because they're kind of dragging that out too long. I think story-wise, they're going to probably put Kane in there just to add to it, but they might save him for when Bryan comes back. I'm not sure on that. What do you think?
I don't know if they could put Kane in there just for his mobility. I would like to see Wyatt in there. I think that would be very entertaining, but I think definitely John Cena would be a lock to get in the match just because, the titles are on the line and it's
John Cena.
It's John Cena, the face of the company.
Also, you got to remember, I'm sure they're going to have a briefcase match, so you can't put a younger up-and-coming guy in there because you want to save him for that briefcase match. So that leaves that one spot. I wish Ziggler could get it, but Ziggler lost his chance, and he's probably not going to get another one.
Right. And, I mean, you're right with the extra match, that they're going to have for that year-long contract that you can do. You're going to have to put some of the newer guys in that match just to build some hype for them and let kind of the big boys shine for the night.
Right, and the big thing for me too is we have Batista left, so this kind of shows that we're sitting here trying to think of basically what we're sitting here trying to think of 7 superstars to do one match, and we can't even think of a seventh person that's a mega superstar. So that kind of shows that WWE isn't building them up to be megastars anymore. They're kind of mid-card people anymore.
Right, and you're a star for one day, and then the next day you're dancing like Sandow.
Sierra, Hotel, India, Echo, Lima, Delta, The Shield today has 2 people left after Seth Rollins left. So with that, was that the right person to leave to turn heel? Plus, there's tons and tons of rumors on the internet through WWE.com, through Bleacher Report, all these websites of a new member. Do you think that's the right thing, and who would you want to be in the Shield?
Well, let me start out with your second question because I think that's the most important thing. They've got to find another person for the Shield because right now 2 people isn't going to cut it.
Right.
All your other factions are 3 people, and what happens if Dean gets hurt and he misses a month?
Right.
Now you're down to one person, and one person definitely isn't anywhere near being the Shield as it should be.
Right. All right, what about the right person to leave? Do you think, because a lot of people think, obviously, Dean Ambrose, by especially his promo, he's the natural heel. He's a psychopath, they call him. Do you think that was the good choice, or you think the surprise pick with Seth Rollins was kind of the way to go?
I like the surprise pick because I think a lot of people, just like you said, figured, it's eventually going to be Dean. This is who's going to be. And, you get this kind of other side of, I think it's going to build more and better promos in the long run with him on the other side, Rollins on the other side instead of Dean.
Now, I'd like to say that we were there live when he turned his back and hit him, and that was like, I was floored because that was nothing I had. Batista just left. You could be on cloud 9, and then all of a sudden, bam, he hit him with the chair. Okay, so new members, though. Who are you thinking? Anybody come to mind?
I would like to see maybe somebody from NXT come up I don't see anybody. They had the poll on Raw the other night where Daniel Bryan won the voting, but I don't think he'd be a
Nah.
very good fit.
I've heard people like CM Punk was one rumor, which CM Punk, let me just say, CM Punk, Sting, we'll talk about him later, and Undertaker is under the same category of once they show up, they will be there kind of a thing, so don't talk about them. But real quick to
Right.
carry over, for me, I would love to see someone that's younger carry over rather than an established superstar because that's kind of what the Shield were if they're going to keep the Shield going.
Right, anti-authority and, somebody new and fresh.
Right.
Well, it's been a while since we've heard anything about the possibility of Sting making a WWE debut, but after the latest rumors, we could be getting closer. There's reports that the WWE is looking for what sounds like a body double of the Icon. So, Jacob, does this get you excited, or does, the continuing wait kind of hurt the hype of them?
Well, like I said before, with Sting, CM Punk, and The Undertaker, we hear so many rumors. It's like almost once a month we talk about them possible return and them coming back. So me, it hurts him. But logically, when I sit here and think, okay, he has a deal with the network. We know that because he's been showing up on the network. This seems like it's going to be like some sort of vignette for a documentary of Sting under the mask or something like that. Or it's for the video game, which there's rumors that he might be one of those pre-order specials. What do you think?
What I'm curious the most about is if he'll actually have a match or matches, because I got to doing some research today, and Sting's 55 years old, and there's not a single active wrestler that's in their 50s, and to even top that, there's only 12 that are in their 40s, and so I don't know what they're going to do except for have him on the network, have him as a pre-order for the game.
Right.
I don't think he can wrestle, and he's
Right.
not. I would be disappointed if he comes out and manages
Right.
or
Forget the GM.
GMs.
Forget that whole thing. It's one of those things that everyone wants that one match at Mania. And for me, we tweeted this on our Twitter account at HWT Podcast. I would rather see Undertaker, or not the Undertaker, I'd rather see Sting Rock at WrestleMania 31 because at least The Rock can carry that because he has some youth with him.
Right. And see, I would have to go with probably is in between two. I would have to go Cena and Sting, or maybe even Daniel Bryan and Sting,
Ooh, I never thought about that.
just to have somebody carry him, kind of like somebody needs to carry The Undertaker
So,
if he continues.
if Sting returns, though, is he a heel or is he a face? Because that's the big thing, too. And I guess that depends on who he's going to face. But he's the Icon, so is he going to be, because in TNA he was the Joker character, so he was a heel, but will he be the hero that everyone wants him to be? Woo! Ric Flair news came in today. He is medically cleared to return to the WWE. Now, for those who did watch NXT Arrival, he was there with his daughter, who I can say, fiance is not in the room, is very good looking, who did win, but he is cleared to return. So does that mean is he just going to be managing? Who would he manage if that happens? And there is rumors going around that Ric Flair, when asked who he wanted to manage, he stated that Ziggler in the WWE rejected him. What are your thoughts on this?
I like the idea of him managing. I would think I would like to see more of a Heyman guy, quote unquote, where Flair is going in, building these guys up. Even if it was I'm the head person of the Four Horsemen, I would like to bring that back.
Right.
And I would think it would work great with, the Wyatts, with Evolution. You get 3 or 4 guys and start that out. But I know you're probably pretty upset about the Ziggler
Ziggler
rejection.
is like a reincarnation, literally, of Ric Flair. He's a guy that would be like a womanizer. He's a show-off, show-stealer. But everything points to him being with The Miz again. I mean, they're going to be in Cleveland. Miz is set to return from what I've heard. And that's where I'm guessing they're going to go with, back with the Flair Miz, because the Miz has the figure 4 leg lock. But that I don't even remember who he fought I remember he wrestled Barrett, I think, once, but that's about it. So it wasn't anything memorable. So I don't know.
I mean, I could see him putting in as a GM role. I think the whole thought of the GM role, anyways, is so overrated. It's just, hey, let's kind of get this guy on here and say that he's coming up with these matches, but like you said, I would rather see him ringside coaching somebody on, uh, you know, distracting the referee for a little bit,
Right. I'd
and
love to see him get a little physical with someone, just a couple slaps, and just because I mean, Ric Flair brings in immediately all the fans because everyone at live events before the matches even start, they're all woo.
yeah, and to be medically cleared to me sounds like you're going to be doing some physical
Right.
work. Well, Brock Lesnar hasn't been seen much since his stunning win back at WrestleMania 30. Since gone, though, we've been only left to wonder when he might make his return. He's been victorious, though, Jacob, in the last 2 years at SummerSlam, beating CM Punk and before that Triple H. So do you think that he'd probably be in the cards for SummerSlam return?
Yeah, I'm guessing so. I'm guessing with this whole situation with him because Heyman keeps drilling us every week about Brock Lesnar. He'll probably be in the SummerSlam card. Now, the question is, who would he face against if he would? I would love to see Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, and I think that whole dynamic with the Shield would help that tremendously, but I doubt they're going to go that angle. There's just not that many top stars for him to feud with because I'm sure they wanted Bryan to do it, but Bryan's hurt, so I don't know. Who do you think he should go up against?
I mean, I like the idea of the Roman Reigns. I just I I don't know. I think he's in kind of a tough spot because there's not really, like you said, do you want him facing Cena and taking Cena away from other matches that he could possibly be building? And I just don't think Brock Lesnar, in my view, is this big pole like I think the
Right.
WWE
Right.
thinks.
And see, that's the problem with part-timers. Not necessarily like a Jericho that comes in and does everything week by week. This is the problem with a guy who gets paid a lot more than we will ever see in our lifetime for 5 matches in 2-year span kind of a thing. And there's no storyline you can build off of this. So he's just going to come in,
Right.
F5 somebody, oh, I conquered the streak, no one can beat me kind of a thing. And it's just like, okay, what? Now, that said, Raw, when Cesaro's intro, when they were teasing Brock Lesnar, the fans wanted him. But the problem is you don't see him enough to really build something worthy of him being there, basically.
Right. I mean, where's he been since? I mean, he made a couple appearances at Raw after WrestleMania to gloat, and it wasn't even to build another match. It's just he's been nowhere to be found.
Right. And that's what I'd rather them spend time building up a Roman Reigns than keeping a Brock Lesnar for 4 matches. Somebody call Brodus Clay's mama because he is unemployed right now. Today, breaking news that happened today, we had the WWE do something they usually don't do. They released 7 superstars. Well, I wouldn't say superstars. That's why they're being released. 7 stars were released at one time. Now, we have names of like Brodus Clay, Evan Bourne, Yoshi Tatsu, even Theodore Long, Curtis Hawkins, Asana, Jinder Mahal, JTG, and Drew McIntyre. With those people released, Jonathan, what do you think? Was this a good decision, and why do you think they did it?
It's been in the news all the time lately that the WWE is losing money, and I think this is kind of a way to try to get some of their profit back and say, hey, we're kind of cutting ties. Hasn't been working out the way that we've been hoping.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry for your luck, and better luck next time.
Right, they've been future endeavored, but to me, a lot of it is, I think, with NXT coming in and Triple H is merging so much of these stars. You'd have the Bo leaving movement, you had the partying movement with the Roseman. So it's one of those things where you cut all this dead weight that aren't doing anything, probably besides live events. and then that way you can incorporate newer NXT without worrying about them.
And I think that NXT all in itself, I'm sure that the people that are on there are wanting to get paid more now because these are live events. These are on their network. They're expecting to get more money,
Right.
and if you're doing that, you can't keep the Brutus Clays, the three-man bands just around so you can kind of throw them out there for a laugh every once a month or twice, in a couple pay-per-views or something.
Right. Well, we can all say this: rest in peace, 3MB.
There you go. So I think that kind of rules out maybe any LC match in the future with a three-man band crew member missing, but we could only hope for it.
Right. With this trending, though, to me, it's one of those things like, who cares? When's the last time we've seen any of these people on TV? Theodore Long's probably the only one that's going to be a big effect of this.
And it's bad because I actually had to look up some of these people because I'm like, I couldn't tell you who they were. Well, to go back to Brock Lesnar, we had some rumors this week about the Undertaker. He's been seen around the gym kind of working out, but in his words, things aren't not looking good for a return. Does this kind of upset you for any WrestleMania 31 appearances, Jacob?
See, with the concept of it was amazing because no one expected him to lose. And everyone was thinking Sting, Undertaker. Now, this loss at WrestleMania could have created this thing where you take away the streak, it's just the icon versus the phenom. But for me, the match was boring. I won't lie. I was like texting during it, and my fiance actually told me that he got pinned because I wasn't looking right away, and I was just like, what? But to me, it doesn't bother me. I mean, he's an old enough guy, and he's done so much that he could go away, and it would be fine. I don't know what you think, but that's kind of how I feel.
Who do you think? Do you think Sting would be the best match if he does make a appearance in 31?
I think so, but I mean, because like Brock Lesnar, fun fact by the way, I found out Brock Lesnar has beat Undertaker every time they fought in a pay-per-view. I did not know that. If that is a wrong fact, tweet us at HWT Podcast and tell us how stupid we are and prove us wrong by which match it was. But he's never lost. I don't know. There's no big name. I mean, it'd be one of those things that Undertaker'd pick who we would want to lead with. And
see this?
Yeah.
This is what's getting bad with the WWE because the only person I could think that, hey, this would be a good match would be Cena, and
right.
I guess that's my
go-to
thing is
kind of match.
Hey, yeah, let's have him go against Cena. That'd be a good match. But I've always been excited to see Sting. I would love to see him come back, but I feel like these two elderly men would be boring everybody. Their match would have to be the first show so they could go to bed early because I think it would be awful.
Right. Well, the concept of the streak to me was like Randy Orton had. You can make the legend killer, the streak killer, and you give it to some young and up-and-coming, a Ziggler or maybe a Rollins or someone that would be name and make them big. But they gave it to Brock, and he's gone.
Do you think, real quick, that maybe they were planning that for next year, and do you believe that it was kind of a last-minute decision that Brock was going to win?
In my personal opinion, I think this was something that they chose, like, on the spot. I don't think they really planned much for it.
Yeah.
All right, today's special segment we're doing is over a concept I think the WWE needs to hop on. I wish I could go to corporatewwe.com and send a message about this because I think even people would charge to do this. It's called a fantasy draft for the WWE. It's the same concept as fantasy football, fantasy NASCAR, fantasy whatever sport, baseball, basketball. You would do this. We would do it kind of in the situation where you'd have 5 wrestlers. You can have a free agency with a pool that were not picked. Each win during the pay-per-view, during whatever event. So SmackDown, main event, and Raw would be 1 point. Each loss would be a negative point towards their score. You would have a no-show where they don't show up. That would be negative 2 points. And for each title win would be a plus 5. Now with this, me and my brother Jonathan, we're going to do our top 5 picks. We're going to do our own mock draft. Now this is not in practice by any means, so we're going to see how this goes. I'm going to be a nice gentleman. Jonathan, I'll let you have the first pick, and we're going to go you, me. So you get your first pick. Who would you pick as your number 1, your franchise player for this?
Well, based on the rules that you're putting out here, I'm gonna have to go with John Cena.
Oh,
I'm just a John Cena fan man today, but I'm gonna have to go with him.
Sell out when it comes,
because he wrestles every night.
Right.
He doesn't lose very often, and there's always a chance of title. So I would definitely have to go with John Cena's number 1.
Okay. Well, with that, you pick John Cena number 1. That puts me, let's see, if I'm going to pick someone, in the way it's going recently, I'll pick Randy Orton, actually.
Randy Orton.
Randy Orton. I think Randy Orton, if they decide story-wise to give him the title, that would be a run. That said, he's not had the greatest win streak with factions, but he always seems to win when he's on the number 1 slot with singles wrestling. All right, so your number 2 would be what?
My number 2 is going to be Bray Wyatt. Just for the same, he's getting pushed, and he's there. I think John Cena's elevated him to another level. He's able to move on away from him now, and we'll see what happens next, but he's definitely number 2 on my board.
I hope Cena and Wyatt keeps feuding in that situation.
Yeah, that would kind of hurt me, but...
All right, my number 2 pick. I am going with the champion. I'm going to pick Sheamus as my number 2 pick. Sheamus is a TV title champion, and for some reason, I think they're going to go with the storyline. The only way he has a TV title is he's going to win the ladder match. He's going to get the belts. He's already beat, and it annoys the crap out of me that he's beat Barrett twice, and that means the prestige of the Intercontinental Championship's not as good. But I think they're going to give him all 4 belts, and that would give me a plus 15 on that if that was the case. So I'm going to go with the wild card on that one.
I'm going with the wild card.
See, this is where it gets difficult.
Because you get farther down, and especially with you got -2 for no shows, so I think depending on when it would start, I'm going to go with my third one with Daniel Bryan, bringing up the Yes movement. It's
a long term.
I feel it's definitely going to have to pay off in the long run. Short term, he's going to really hurt me, but that's who I would be picking.
Okay. With my third pick, I'm going to go with a kind of a wild card. I'm going to believe in this person. I'm going to pick Bo Dallas because Bo Dallas is undefeated. They seem to be pushing him to the moon almost, and he is the greatest pep talker ever. But the best thing about him is how annoying he is because he's always like, Kofi Kingston, you tried so hard. And they will keep pushing him. So Bo Dallas is my third pick.
But do you think eventually that'll Fandango out? Or?
Well, if that's the case, you can always drop those people. So you're allowed to drop and pick up. And in this concept, we're only picking 5. And we can do a thing with tag team, but we won't do that right now. So let's do number 4 for you.
Number 4, I'm gonna take Rusev.
Oh.
He hasn't lost. He's just racking up wins. He's showing up, taking care of business. He's going to be having some kind of belt here shortly. And, I really hope that we get a Goldberg push out of him. I think that'd be a great storyline. But that's who I would go with, with the 7th pick overall.
Right. And actually, I had someone tweet me today that saying that they wish they would release Rusev, and I'm like, why? And he talked about the whole Ryback situation where Ryback got this big push, nothing came out of it, he's crap. Well, in that concept, I understand what he's saying, but they're giving him an actual, a meaning. He's that anti-American villain, and we're all thinking the same way. We're hoping for that Nation of Domination to eventually show up and have that Mark Henry-Rusev feud. All right, but number 4 for me, this is a tricky one. Number 4, I'm going to go with Cesaro as number 4. He's a guy that could win the belt at Money in the Bank, but he's also getting that push that a lot of people get before they make it to that superstardom.
Well, with my 5th and final pick here tonight, I think I'm going to surprise you here. I'm actually going to go with Paige.
Oh, yeah.
Divas champion. You know, I'm going to get some points there. She doesn't really have very much competition as far as things go right now. I think that they don't want to give the belt to a total diva, and so they don't want to reward the show even more. And I just don't think there's anybody else there to contend with her, and so I think she's definitely going to pick up some wins.
Well, and you have Snuka taking the knee surgery, so she's gone. Alicia Fox is really the only kind of thing going. The biggest news kind of in the Divas division is the whole Fandango drama with Layla and Summer Rae. So that's a great pick because she doesn't lose often. With my 5th pick, I would have to say this one's a difficult one. I'm going to go with Bad News Barrett. I think that getting another title holder, he doesn't lose very often. The only person apparently that can beat him is Sheamus. But I think he's going to hold the title for a little longer. So that means he'll give him a couple more feuds, and that means he'll be showing himself on TV. So, all right, we have our 5, and I'll let us pick one. We'll do 2 bench people. So you have 2 bench that can be alternatives. So you can put your Daniel Bryan on the bench. That way he's not affecting you, but that's a long-term solution.
Yeah,
so
I got you. Well, I got some bad news for you because I just totally crushed you on that.
I didn't think of this.
Yes, and so now one thing I would do is, you know, I like the kind of concept. I think what would make it even better for them is to do just a pick 'em. And, you know, you get on here, here's some matches. They could have Raw, they could have pay-per-views, live events, and say, hey, you know, go in here, pick 'em. Here's the WWE Universe's champion for this pick 'em. But no, I definitely like your fantasy draft, but you're not very good at it because I just smashed you.
Yeah, I take it you're taking the showstopper, kind of the steals the show.
I think that's what I'm going to have to do.
All right, so you took Ziggler, or Ziggy, AJ would call him, sorry. Okay, so my bench, let's see. From my bench, let me think of a good one that would be there. I'm going to pick Roman Reigns. I think Roman's due to be a singles push eventually. He could be someone that I could sub in for Bo Dallas if I'm not believing in the moment. So that's a good pick for me. Who's going to be your last bench person?
My last is going to be Seth Rollins. Just, you know, he's got to pick up some wins to build some heat. And, you know, with the evolution, a lot of people watching, I think that he'll be able to get me some points.
Okay. With that said, I'm trying to think my last bench person. With all those said and done, I'm going to go with another Shield member. I'm going to sell out totally to the Shield. I'm going to put Dean Ambrose. Like I said before, both of these people, they're going to be pushed, and they're going to be pushed to the moon, basically, eventually. So I am betting that Dean, especially with them giving him the singles title over Roman when he got the tag team title and Dean got the TV title, he's due to be for that big push. So that's our lineup. Let me repeat what we have. Jonathan's team, his 5 is Cena, Wyatt, Bryan, Rusev, and Paige, with a bench of Ziggler and Seth Rollins. Team Jacob is Orton, Sheamus, Bo Dallas, Cesaro, Bad News Barrett, Roman Reigns on the bench, and Dean Ambrose. We will actually, I will keep track of this. We will tally it up, and we will see how we both performed for next week in our special segment, and we'll do a follow-up to this to see. And if fans, if you are listening and you want to join into this, just tweet us at Harrell, it's HWT Podcast, and we can expand this. We could do this with 4 people. We could do it. We'd probably only want to keep it around 5, but we can expand this, and we can actually do this and have a special segment where we talk about who won, who lost, and all that.
Well, I think that will definitely be great. Leading off, or taken away from our special segment, we'll go right into WWE Network. Kind of do just a segment every week of reviews and what to watch. Really just to talk about kind of right now, you know, for the viewing, they've got 3 shows on right now. Had WrestleMania Rewind with John Cena and Shawn McMichaels. Countdown, which I thought was a great one, the best trash talkers. And you've also got the finale of Legends House tonight, which I haven't got to watch yet, but I've heard that they've got some, I guess it's pretty good because there was some trending on it. Mm-hmm. But have you been able to watch any of them yet?
I did watch the countdown for the best trash talker, and thank the Lord, John Cena did not make the list that I remember because he made the best debut, which is such a crime for Y2J because Y2J has that. Speaking of trending, currently right now it is 10:40, and they have Legends House trending. They have Pat Patterson trending. So obviously there's a big surprise on that. We do not know. There's speculations on it, but we'll let you watch it and figure out what happens with that on its own. I am excited for Legends House. I love it every time you hear Mean Gene saying, "Holy balls." I just start cracking up laughing. But it's that, and to me, I'm going to watch a little bit of the best of Raw. I like watching some of the old school Raw with the awesome theme songs. And
yeah. So real quick on Countdown, who would your top 3 be?
Best trash talkers?
Best trash talkers.
I would have to say you have Rock and Austin, obviously, probably up there. I'd have to put Rowdy Piper. In order, I would put Rock number 1. I'd put Piper number 2, just for the fact Piper was the original trash talker. And then Austin was so simple in what he did, but he did it so well. That's why I'm putting him number 3.
See, I was shocked that The Rock didn't win. He's definitely got mine number 1. I think number 2, which I thought was just, I can't believe he was as low as he was Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
I mean, just all the stuff that he's done. And then number 3, I've got CM Punk.
CM Punk, yeah.
But I thought overall it was, you know, definitely a great show.
You know what, though? It doesn't matter what you think. It's all
doesn't.
about the universe. So, all right. Going into our next segment here, it's birthdays and anniversary week.
So this week, Mark Henry is one of those 12 wrestlers that I was talking about earlier that turned 43 this week. So not sure how much he'll have in the tank, but we'll just see what the World's Strongest Man's got in store for the future.
Yep. Happy birthday to the Hall of Pain. Anniversary week on June 10th, 2002. So this week on Raw, Vince McMahon won 100% ownership back from the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, and winning a no-holds-barred match. All right, we have another segment. We'd love to hear feedback, obviously, from everyone that's listening. Hopefully it's more than a couple for our first one. But we have a segment where we will answer your tweets, and this comes from Raw is Gabby. She tweeted to me, which wrestler released today surprised you the most? What do you think, Jonathan?
You know, I would have to go with Brutus Clay, just because I think he's the biggest name out of the whole pack, and be kind of curious to see what they do with, you know, the divas that was kind of paired with him, and where everything goes with that. What would you say out of all the lists?
I think Brodus Clay is the obvious one because he's the one that had the most TV time. I think the thing that surprised me the most with that is Brodus Clay is the guy that came out as this like monster heel, and then all of a sudden they tamed him into this Funkasaurus guy that was just awful gimmick. It's kind of like a Damien Sandow gimmick, and you don't give the guy another chance. This is a guy that was supposed to be in last year's WrestleMania, teaming up with Albert basically in the Funkadactyls versus Team Road Scholars and the Bellas. So it's a guy that had potential. He wrestled some in NXT too, but I'd have to say the 3MB breaking up just saddens me because we won't get any more of the. So the question goes into this: does Slater, does he go back to the one-man band gimmick because he lost his band, or is Hornswoggle, are they going to be a two-man band?
I don't know. They could just be no band, and I think half the WWE universe would be happy about it.
All right.
Well, that leads us into our final segment, kind of what we'll call final thoughts, where we're just going to kind of take turns, and we'll go 30 seconds. You rant whatever you want, whatever's on your mind. And since you let me go first on the draft tonight, Jacob, I'll let you go ahead and start with your final thoughts.
All right, my final thoughts. If you watch the pay-per-views from last year, Ziggler was the World Heavyweight Champion going into Payback. Now, he's nothing. That said, I do think that the WWE trusts him enough to push stars because he's pushing Batista up as a heel because he's crushing all of us because we want to see Ziggler win. They're trusting him with Seth Rollins and all of this. But to me, is it one of those things where do they trust him to push him, or is it to make us mad and angry because they're heels? Who knows?
Again. Well, Jacob, I'm going to spend my 30 seconds on talking about conspiracy theories. You've got some huge ones, right? I mean, you've got the JFK, people even can say the 9/11, but I'm going back to the start of the show. I still think there's a conspiracy theory about Daniel Bryan not being actually injured. This is all a story. He is probably on his honeymoon right now, enjoying it, and Bree's probably, who knows, she's probably even pregnant, about ready to have little Bryansons running around. That's what I'm telling you.
Thanks for listening to Harrell Wrestling Talk. Tune in next Friday for our next podcast. We would love to have fan interaction. Follow us on Twitter at HWT Podcast. Like us on Facebook at HWT Podcast. And also, we will have special things come up on YouTube at HWT Podcast. Feel free to give us suggestions, corrections, things we got wrong, how bad it was, whatever feedback you want to give us, let us know. We also want to throw out the sponsorship is always welcome. You can get a hold of us at Harrell, Harrell, WrestlingTalk.wordpress.com. We have a contact and support link on the webpage. I would like to leave with this bit of wisdom. If your wife,
What?
girlfriend,
What?
husband,
What?
or boyfriend
What?
says you watch too much wrestling, tell them that's impossible. Till next time, Wrestling World, keep listening and keep watching.